Hey loves, welcome back to the Heart Space podcast. I'm your host, Chari, and today's episode, it's one that sits deep in my heart. We're talking about holding on to who you are through the storms, through the heartbreaks, through the changes that you never saw coming. Because sometimes life will take you through things that will make you question everything, even yourself. And yet, somehow, even in all of it, there's a piece of you that never leaves. That's the part that we're going to talk about today. The part that endures. The part that still believes in softness, even when the world feels hard. This episode is personal because it's my story too. I've experienced a lot in my life, honestly, more than I ever thought I would. I moved around a lot growing up. I had a stepfather in my life, and my biological father came in and out as it suited him. And that kind of inconsistency can leave a mark on your heart because as a child, all you want is stability. And then I became a teen mom, and if you've ever been one or known one, you know that it's not easy because you're growing up while raising someone else. You're figuring yourself out while trying to make sure that your child will never feel any of the negativity that you had ever felt in your life. And eventually, I married his father, my high school sweetheart, and we built a life together. We had 2 more beautiful kids, and there were good times and laughter and love, but there were also things like financial struggle and emotional breakdowns and moments where it felt like we were barely keeping our heads above water. And then, during COVID, he passed away. I was only 28 years old. And that loss, that kind of loss, changes everything. The air feels different. The world looks unfamiliar. And for a long time, I didn't know who I was outside of who I had been previously, or even outside of the pain. And I have myself to thank for holding on, but truly, I thank God for where I am today. Because through it all, every heartbreak and every loss, God carried me. I managed to find a love that I consider to be worth all the waiting and the pain that it took to get here, where I am today. But believe me when I say that even before that love, I went through even more unimaginable pain than I ever thought I could survive. I was broken to my core in one specific relationship, and there was a time when I honestly didn't even know if I would ever feel whole again. But I used to remind myself that it rains before rainbows. I'm a Christian, and in those darkest moments, I often thought about the story of Noah, which had always been one of my favorite stories, so much so that I even named my youngest son after him. I thought, God flooded the world, cleansing it of what it was, but he made a promise that he would never do it again. And that story has always stayed with me because there was a season in my life where life had felt like it just had been completely stripped of everything that I knew, completely stripped bare, and everything familiar was gone. Not once, but twice, and another time, so many times in my life. And I felt like I couldn't take any more stripping bare. I felt empty. And I started to question who I was and where my future was. It just felt like every day felt like Groundhog Day, lost in the void, and basic life things just kept repeating. But that's all there was. And I was in a storm that I didn't understand. I was in constant anxiety, and all I wanted was peace. I just wanted to feel safe again, to feel like I knew what was coming next for once. But just like in the story of Noah, the flood didn't last forever. The rainbow came. And to me, that rainbow was more than just a sign in the sky. It was God's covenant, his way of saying, the sun will shine again, and it eventually did, both on earth and in my life. But what I've learned through every single heartbreak, every challenge, every move, every sleepless night, it's who you are at your core that never really goes away. It can get buried under fear or grief or exhaustion, but it's still there. It's just waiting to be rediscovered. I've experienced extreme discomfort for as long as I can remember. But one thing I always knew is that no matter what life has thrown at me, I have always somehow managed to come out on top. Even when I was shaking, even when I was crying, even when I didn't know how I would make it another day, I did. Because every hardship became a lesson. Every setback became an invitation to grow stronger. And I don't mean that kind of toxic positivity that says just be strong and move on. No, I mean strength that comes from allowing yourself to feel everything, the pain, the disappointment, the betrayal, the grief, the anger, and still choosing to not let it make you bitter. I've cried more times than I can count. I've let myself down. I've doubted myself. But through it all, I made a choice. I was not going to let the negativity in my life take away anything from who I am. Because at my core, I have always been me. Even when life tried to harden me, I fought to keep my softness, because that softness, that ability to still love, to still dream, to still care, that's power. And maybe that's what I want you to hear the most today. Your softness is not weakness. It's the courage to stay open in a world that has tried to close you off. So if you've been through loss, if you've been through trauma, if you're rebuilding yourself, I see you, and I want you to know that nothing that life throws at you can take away your essence. You can rebuild from ashes. You can rediscover joy. You can love again. You can start over, and you can still be you. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've been all along. When I look back, I realize that the same girl who used to dream big, she's still there. She just needed time to be seen again through the pain. You can go through fire and still come out soft. You can go through heartbreak and still believe in love. And you can lose everything and still find peace. The key is to hold on to your heart space, that sacred place within you that hope lives, that voice that still whispers, you're still you. So take a moment right now. Maybe close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath. Inhale strength. And exhale pain. Remind yourself, you have been through so much, but you're still here. You're still showing up. You're still capable of love, joy, and purpose, and you have always been you, and no hardship can take that away. Thank you so much for being here today. And if this episode resonated with you at all, please share it with someone who might need that reminder that they can hold on to themselves even when life feels unbearable. You are allowed to grieve, you are allowed to grow, and you are allowed to shine again. Remember, keeping your softness is your superpower. Turning pain into strength is your rebirth.